Welcome, everyone, to Civil Disobedience TV for another interview with a very fine individual who disobeys unjust laws. Today is Martin Luther King Day in the United States, and we're celebrating it by honoring all of these excellent individuals who take a stand, who put themselves on the line, who take risks to disobey unjust laws, and in the process, perhaps paradoxically for some, strengthen those laws which are just. My guest is John Bush from Texas. How you doing, John?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a great day. I'm having a blast talking to all these great people, such as yourself.
Yeah. Thanks for putting this on.
It's a lot of fun. So, John, tell us a little bit about yourself. Do you consider yourself an activist?
Yes, I do. I've been active for about 8 to 9 years now. In 2002, I caught a little documentary on cable access down here in Austin by Alex Jones called 9/11 Road to Tyranny. I began to question the official story. Did the whole 9/11 truther thing for several years, learned about the global government agenda, tried to awaken as many people as I could about that. Then I got involved politically and got introduced to libertarianism through the Ron Paul campaign. And after the campaign, worked with several other local activists here in Travis County in order to start a local political action committee, Texans for Accountable Government. I'm the executive director right now. We've been in action for about 2.5+ years, and we're taking the philosophy of liberty to the local level, pushing back on those institutions which most inhibit our ability to live as free individuals. And we've managed to have some pretty big successes. Continue to spread the message, do a radio program right now on 98.9 FM here in Austin. It's called Live Free Austin Radio. Also work with a nonprofit called the Foundation for a Free Society, myfreesociety.com. And me and Catherine, as well as several other activists across the country, have recently been pushing back on the fusion center system and trying to defuse the tension we see being pervaded between the law enforcement community and the activist community, specifically those who choose to operate outside of the federal monopoly on coercion. We've been trying to educate citizens and law enforcement fusion centers alike that we are peaceful activists trying to seek a change through nonviolence. And you know, as every year goes by, I feel more and more free as an individual, and I enjoy embracing liberty and encourage people to do it all the time.
That's excellent, John.
Yeah,
you do a lot of good work.
Appreciate that.
So, tell us, what unjust law or illegitimate authority have you disobeyed?
Recently I was arrested a few months ago at University of Texas campus. And the unjust law that I disobeyed, you know, it was such a boondoggle of a case that I'm not even sure if I broke a law. It was one of those instances where me just being myself, and Kat brought this up, you know, a long time ago, and it really stuck with me. You know, what happens when just being oneself becomes illegal? So I showed up to UT campus because Barack Obama was there to deliver a speech. Of course, Austin's a very liberal town. There's a very strong Democratic base, especially on University of Texas campus. So I showed up to do 3 things. I had 3 purposes that day, and one of them wasn't to get arrested. I was there to document the event, to document the protests going on, to, you know, see some of the absurdity of some of the Democratic followers, to see some of my fellow protesters out there. I came down there in my capacity as Executive Director of Texans for Accountable Government to hold local law enforcement accountable and to ensure that nobody's civil liberties were violated. You know, little did I know that mine soon would be. And additionally, I went there to protest the war, the illegal wars of aggression, specifically Obama's escalation of unmanned aerial drone raids in Pakistan and the escalation of rhetoric in Iran. So I did those 3 things. I was there for about an hour. As soon as I showed up, Chanda Seymour was arrested. As soon as I came onto the scene for the exact same thing, we all refused to go to the free speech zone. So there's not law that you have to go to a free speech zone. We were charged with criminal trespass, but unfortunately the Secret Service had came in and they had ordered or directed, which is unconstitutional according to the Supreme Court, Sheriff Mack's case. You can't commandeer local law enforcement or compel them. Maybe they just asked or volunteered it, but the University of Texas Police Department was asked to set up a free speech zone. And interestingly enough, the activists to get arrested that day, we all saw each other in jail. They were all part of our ragtag local activist crew, and none of us would be compelled to voluntarily, willingly give up our First Amendment rights to, and our natural rights to free speech, peaceably assemble, freedom of the press, and petition our government for redress of grievances. So we were all locked up for about 6, 7, 8 hours. People are referring to us as the UT3. And I stood my ground. As I was getting arrested, I was educating the people around. I wasn't even protesting at the time I was being arrested. We were having a civil discussion outside of the free speech zone, and the assistant dean of students showed up, and she ordered the police to arrest us. And as we were being arrested, I took an opportunity to educate the crowd around me, many young liberals who were standing up for Obama. There was a conspiracy theorist, Alex Jones guy out there, and I was trying to stick up for him. He was asked to leave. He went ahead and complied, but I remained. And before I got arrested, I made sure to make it a point to educate these young college students to say, hey, you know, Barack Obama's here on campus. He claims to be a constitutional scholar and stand for the Constitution. And here we have it. You're about to witness somebody's civil liberties get violated right before your very eyes, somebody who's not posing a threat whatsoever. And they carted me off to jail. And I think it goes to serve, just as Martin Luther King said, whenever brave people stand up for these, stand up against these unjust laws and unjust controls, it goes to further illustrate the absurdity of said law, especially if you hold yourself in a peaceful and respectable manner. And that was quite the experience. So that's a recent unjust law that I disobeyed.
Yeah, I saw the video of that, and yeah, I saw them, you know, put the cuffs on you, and I could tell both you and they were a little uncomfortable about it.
Sure.
And you guys chanted, "This is what a police state looks like."
Yeah.
And I thought that was very apt. You know, since when do free speech zones have to be set up? I mean, I thought that was the purpose of the First Amendment to the Constitution. Mm-hmm. Everything that's not private property is a free speech zone.
That's
isn't
right.
it?
Yeah, they have some shady definitions with the public university. Unfortunately, as we all too often find as libertarians, the Supreme Court and many judicial institutions only act to further cement the state's immoral and coercive nature. The Supreme Court, as far as I'm concerned, is nothing but a tyranny justifier. So they've actually ruled that on public universities and public institutions, such as the University of Texas campus, the authorities have the right to dictate time, place, and manner of your free speech. So in the eyes of the Supreme Court, in the eyes of the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, the Fifth Circuit of Criminal Appeals here in Texas, they've also affirmed that, even on UT campus, prior case, as well as Texas Tech campus. So unfortunately, there exists a situation where, according to the law and affirmed by the the judicial system, that I was actually in the wrong, and hopefully we'll be able to push back through a civil suit, because as it turns out, and again, go through the criminal court system, do as you will, try as hard as you can, but when there's precedent established, it's really difficult to work your way through that. You can't pop them back on the civil side. They actually did disobey their own rules in that there was viewpoint discrimination. They only told those to leave who were protesting against Obama. There were several people there in favor of Obama with Obama signs, continuing discourse, standing up for Obama. They weren't asked to leave. But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the times these laws are so disgusting and so backwards that just being yourself, you are in violation of the law, even though they're a direct contradiction to the First Amendment, and you would assume that it is a public institution. It just doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah. So as, you're expressing your First Amendment right, free speech, and you were on the campus of a university that is owned by the state of Texas. As they put the cuffs on, how did that make you feel?
I guess I wasn't really surprised. I wasn't planning on getting arrested. I spoke with the council member, Bill Spellman, before I got arrested, and informed him that some of the dean of students had asked me to go to the free speech zone, and I informed the council member, hey, if you stick around, you might have a rights violation. I do not intend to comply. I respectfully told the first assistant dean of students that approached me that I do not intend to comply. He informed me of the time, place, and manner Supreme Court case. I informed him that the Supreme Court at one point required Northerners to return slaves back to the South, and I don't subscribe to that particular Supreme Court ideology. I told the council member. So as it actually happened, I don't know, I didn't necessarily feel unfree. A lot of people are afraid to disobey unjust laws because they feel that their freedom will be taken away and they'll be put in a difficult situation. But in getting arrested in those situations, whenever you stop fearing the coercive nature of the state, then they no longer have power over you. And for them to exert that force where it would appear as if they are taking your freedom away, but if you freed your mind, it's actually a very liberating experience because you know that they can never take your freedom away, and you know that in a personal sense you've already won the war. So while I was being carted off and I was in handcuffs and my physical body was in slavery, I think it was an empowering thing. I knew I was standing up for my individual liberty and doing the right thing. And I know that in time it will be justified, and it's well worth it for people to be inspired and see that here I am on the flip side, just as Kat said before. Kat really got ran through the gauntlet. She's a little more sensitive than I am, and it really pained her to be arrested in there. They treated her like hell, too, inside of there. But she came out on the other side unscathed, and I just hope that that's inspiration for others, that you can stand up for your rights, and it's not as bad as the establishment would make you believe it to be.
Yeah, the freedom we have is really kind of illusory in a lot of ways, and although it's paradoxical, you almost have the passing through of the being arrested and of the things you learn during that process and the going to court. I mean, that's paradoxically a little bit liberating. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a rite of passage, and it just goes to further justify and cement the idea that, I know a lot of the viewers of this video, a lot of people in the movement are beyond the state as a means of organizing our society. I feel it prudent to first exhaust all possibilities, exhaust the opportunities for redress provided to you by the current system. I think that history has shown, even in the recent years, that those remedies have been exhausted. So whenever you're actually out there and you're exercising your individual liberty, you're practicing constitutionally protected activity. The Constitution's a restraint on the government. It has nothing to do with your individual liberty. It says what they can and cannot do. And to have them violate that again, I think it just further solidifies not only a feeling of internal freedom whenever you come out unscathed on the other side, as I said before, but it further solidifies the case for voluntarists and for those who subscribe to 100% individual liberty, that the state is not the answer when they will so willingly violate individuals who are acting peaceably and according to their own constitutionally protected individual rights.
Mm-hmm. And when you were facing arrest there at the UT Austin campus, was that a difficult decision for you to stay there and face arrest, or did it come easy?
The thought never really crossed my mind. Some of the press had picked up and said that we wandered outside of the free speech zone, but I never even recognized the free speech zone. I never had the intention to go to a free speech zone, so it wasn't really a surprise. I didn't really make a decision at the last minute that I'm going to stick to my guns and stay here. I just never really, the thought never crossed my mind to go to the free speech zone or comply with their orders, even when it came from the police officer, the assistant dean, because I know that an unjust law is no law at all. And if we continue our work and continue activities like getting this message out there and to continue disobeying unjust laws in a peaceful manner, then I know our hard work will be justified in the end. So yeah, the thought never really crossed my mind. I was pretty much 100% committed. I've been 100% committed for the past couple of years. I went to Continental Congress 2009 with Catherine. That was part of Bob Schultz's We the People Foundation. Big patriot movement effort, but they did exhaust our First Amendment petition for a redress of grievances remedy for the past 15 years, just as our founding fathers did before they signed the Declaration of Independence. And ever since then, it was a rather inspiring event, and I've committed myself 110%. So no, the thought didn't cross my mind. But I can understand why the thought would cross someone's mind. It definitely was not pleasant being in the cell. There was for about 30, 45 minutes, mainly out of sheer boredom, and the prospect that I could have stayed the night as I remained in there, for the 6th and 7th hours. It did I started to feel the enclosure and the entrapment and just soak it in that they actually had physically taken my freedom away. But then again, I was unscathed, and if anything, it strengthened my resolve to stand up for myself again in the future.
Yeah, it's hard. I've been put in a jail cell on two different occasions now, and it's an interesting experience.
To say the least, yeah.
It's hard. So,
Yeah, I'm not trying to say it's easy or a cakewalk by any means, and sometimes terrible things can happen in there. But I think cost benefit analysis, it's worth it in the bigger picture for the broader push for freedom.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a couple viewer questions. The first one from Call at Dexville. Do you, John, hold 100% to the concept of nonviolent civil disobedience?
Yeah, I'm down. I think it's a wonderful tactic, a wonderful means. I'm a big fan of Murray Rothbard, big libertarian philosopher, one of the founding fathers of the libertarian movement. He did a piece called Liberty and the New Left in the journal Left and Right when he spent some time with the New Left because he was disillusioned with the old right because they sold out on the anti-war issue. And he spoke of, it was the civil rights movement. It's Martin Luther King Day, and it was precisely when the civil rights movement broke out of they stopped being the old right in their tactics, in that the old left would go to the halls of Congress and they would beg the congressmen for their freedom. They would beg the congressmen for their right to equality under the law. And unfortunately, that got them nowhere. So Murray Rothbard says it's whenever they broke out of the old left tactics and started to hop into the new left tactics, which was to openly disobey these unjust laws, that they were able to overthrow the shackles of the white oppressive regime. So I'm a big supporter of peaceful nonviolent resistance. One of the projects that we're going to be working on in the near future with Operation Defuse, OperationDefuse.com, is to encourage activists all across the country to do a short, brief little YouTube, 1 minute, 2 minute, however long they want. We can post them on our Operation Defuse page, or you can post it on your own channel, and we can link to it, where you look your camera in the face, you record a little blurb, and you say, "I, John Bush, subscribe to, I swear to only use nonviolent means in order to bring about change." And of course, self-defense, non-aggression principle. If someone, even if it be at the state, initiates aggression, we do have a right to defend ourselves. But I think it's important that we commit ourselves to nonviolence and we put it on the record, because there's a marginalization campaign going on right now from the Department of Homeland Security, Fusion Center, Southern Poverty Law Center, ADL, even some activists in the libertarian movement like Dave Nowell of the Republican Liberty Caucus and his idiotwars.com, where he infers that people that question 9/11 could potentially be violent threats or potentially be like a new McVeigh. We need to be aware of that. We need to combat that by publicly committing ourselves to peaceful, nonviolent resistance, to make it absolutely clear, beyond a reasonable doubt in the minds of the state, that we do not subscribe to violence and we're not using violence to bring about our means, because they're trying to make it seem as if we are in the public's eyes.
Yeah, it's such an easy target. It's like associating the word violent with protest. I mean, which is a common tactic of governments, and I just don't get it. One of my heroes is Gandhi, another Howard Zinn, another Martin Luther King, and there are some people who are ready and willing to kill anybody in what they think is going to be a way to solve problems. It's just not. Violence is not faster, it's not more effective, and at the end, both sides are really angry with each other still. Nonviolence has the potential to not only work something out that's a win-win for both sides, but also when it's done, there won't be as many hard feelings on each side.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I no longer call for revolution per se, because revolution is merely a repetition of cycles, never fully advancing the ball forward towards total individual liberty. That's why most revolutions in the past have been revolutions of force. I appreciate the Free State Project, and up there they got the whole peaceful evolution. So I believe it's time that we evolve beyond the need for coercion in order to bring about change, and we demonstrate that we do have the ability to create the genuine free society that we all desire and yearn for. And we can only do that by just genuinely acting as free people and carrying out our activism in a non-violent way. Because yeah, violence begets violence. A lot of the people that are for using those methods, I would imagine once they took power, I don't even think they would be able to take power. Look at the state now. They got freaking microwave weapons and unmanned aerial drones. So back in the American Revolution, it was muskets and cannons versus muskets and cannons. Now it's, you know, AR-15s, AK-47s, maybe the random grenade launcher. Maybe somebody has a plane or a truck they'll equip with some weapons. But you're going up against you know, technologically advanced tanks, unmanned aerial drones. Again, the microwave weapons, they could just park and just, you know, dissipate and make immobile a whole grassroots movement, really, if they're outside of a protest or whatnot. So that's definitely not the answer. And then if someone was able to take power in that manner, it would be painfully clear that they came to power with force. And of course, once these individuals take this power position, history has shown that they won't relinquish their power. They'll protect it with force, and again, we'll be caught in the cycle of perpetual revolution, whereby we never advance the ball towards total peaceful, nonviolent societal organizations.
Very well said, John. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us today. Do you want to plug any of your projects to our viewers?
Sure. I'm actually just about to upload a new show for Live Free Austin. We have the podcasts on livefreeaustinradio.com, and it airs every Saturday from 3 to 4 p.m., but you can check out all the past podcasts. Catherine Bleich and I just did a show just recently, and again, you can find it on livefreeaustinradio.com, where we discuss the details of the police state fusion center apparatus, how they're targeting those who specifically choose to operate outside of their federal monopoly. And towards the end of the program, we discuss the prospects of, I know, George, you're big on opting out of body scanners. We talk about the potential and the morality of opting out of government altogether on that show. So definitely check that out. Additionally, Texans for Accountable Government, always pushing back on privacy and civil liberties violations at the local and state level. Tag Texas, tagtexas.org is the website for that. As Catherine said, OperationDefuse.com is our effort to educate people about the fusion centers in the police state. And then also I'm working for a nonprofit. I'm the education director. It's called the Foundation for a Free Society, and we explore the philosophy of liberty. We impart activists with tools to communicate the message of liberty. And we also give tools and advice and tactics and strategies on how individuals can live as free beings, be it self-sufficient food production, self-defense, competing currencies, or parallel institutions. We're trying to educate, activate, and liberate so you can live a more free and prosperous life, and that's myfreesociety.com. And big thanks to you, George. It's a wonderful thing that you're putting on. I was watching the interview earlier with Danny Panzella, and just got a kick of how you introduced the whole thing. You know, we're looking for peaceful people that disobey unjust laws, and it's great to highlight that in this fashion.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation. You have a great day.
Thanks. Take it easy.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.